Let's start the day of this day of GoLab with the keynote from Filippo Valsorda, by Filippo Valsorda, clearing the GoPath to go. Thank you.
A short introduction. I'm Filippo. I work at Cloudflare. You might have heard about Cloudflare from one of the previous presentations. Anyway, I work in the London office, and I work mostly on, actually for the longest time, I worked on that specific piece of software that John Graham Cummings says you use every time you use the internet, the DNS server that serves most of the websites. But now I'm working on cryptography, but that's actually not what we're going to talk about. What we are going to talk about is the fact that I've been slowly trying to become a 10x programmer, which turns out doesn't mean doing 10x work yourself, but figuring out how you can train 10 other programmers to do your job, and then probably sipping drinks on the beach, but I haven't reached that part yet. So today we're going to talk about one of the things I ended up focusing on. We're talking about GoPath. Now, if you don't know what GoPath is yet, that's fine. That's actually kind of the point of the talk. That's the problem. Now, GoPath is a pretty central concept in how you organize your Go environment. Your GoPath looks a bit like this. It's a folder somewhere on your system. By the canonical way of doing it, it's just a folder, a single one that could be, I don't know, your home/Go. That's actually what I use. And inside there you have a bin folder, which is just where binaries that you build with go install end up. A PKG folder, which is where the artifacts for incremental compilation wait for the next time you try to build something using that library. And then the SRC folder, which is the one you really have to be aware of, which is where all the source you write in Go has to be, which is kind of a weird concept. Now, in particular, inside the SRC, there's an enforced structure too. Let's say that you're working on this project called OKLog. That's not my project, but it's a good example for today's talk. So you put it on GitHub under github.com/oklog/oklog. That's your URL. So probably the import path of your program is going to be github.com/oklog/oklog. So far, so good. It's the name. Like Java has this concept, right? Com dot. It's reversed, but we've seen this concept before. The interesting thing is that now that means that the code of OKLog has to be in your Go path. So maybe /users/Filippo/go /src/github.com/oklog/oklog. Now, this makes sense. If you're in this room, there are actually good chances that you like the simplicity of this. I do. Francesco over there said he does. But the thing is, let's have a look at what I've seen a bunch of developers, casual developers, or new developers at Cloudflare do. At Cloudflare, we hire people not based on must have 5 years of Go experience, or must have 15 years of Go experience, which is Russ Cox, maybe. But instead, we just go look for programmers that can learn. And then we tell them, hey, our company works on Go. So why don't you go take, I don't know, this library and make a small patch for it? So they're smart. They know what to do. So they are going to go, type git clone, and clone OKLog, right? You would do that. I would do that. Then they're going to cd, ls, and there's no makefile. But there's a cmd folder. I probably want the comment. I want to build a comment. That's what I want. Great. OK. So what's in cmd? Only one folder, OKLog. It has some main code. This is promising. I know what I'm doing. Yes. OK. So I take this, and I've learned that I have to use go build. It's so intuitive. It's just go build. And /cmd OKLog, right? So this is exactly what everyone steps on every time. Now, if you are an experienced Go developer, you eventually learn, right? But if you work with Go every day, you remember it. But I was actually on this trip back from Napa. There was wine involved. And a couple of engineers I really esteem and I really respect in my company started ranting to me about this Go that was so hard to use. Come again. Go hard to use, but no, that's exactly what we pride ourselves with. It's an easy-to-use language. There's no cognitive overhead. That's exactly what we like of the language. What was going on? And they kept going, and eventually they just told me that I just wanted to build. And then I was at IETF, and I was talking with someone. They were saying, yeah, we want to write our RFCs in Markdown, but there are no tools for that. I'm like, no. Mick G wrote this awesome tool in Go. It's great. You just take the binary, run it on the Markdown, and they saw me, and they're like, oh, yeah, I saw that. No, I can never get that to compile. What? Now, it took an effort. It took a serious effort to take a step back from after having learned this, after having conquered this hill, to realize that GoPath is simple, GoPath makes sense, I like GoPath. Is GoPath what we want to be the first impression of our language on new developers? No. We want our new developers to hit the ground running. We want them to get into a folder, write a patch, figure out how nice it is that they understand the code because they're reading it, and then build it and see how nice it is that it built into a static binary. We have all of these. We don't want the first thing that they encounter to be, oh, but no. You have to put this folder in the right place and set the right environment variable. Okay, so no, Cloudflare is not the first one to have had this problem. The problem can be summed up in the fact that you have a forced path and the fact that this environment is global. The global environment is not that new of a problem. Like, if you think about it, Python has the same. If you pip install something, it ends up in a just global jar on your system. And they solved it with virtual env, which is actually something that confuses a lot of people. I like virtual env. Again, can you see a pattern here? I like virtual env, but it still confuses newcomers. Go is a little worse than that because your dependencies sit just next to your code. That's not what people expect. Now, of course, Cloudflare is not the first one to detect this problem. There is a number of solutions that improved the life of Go programmers over time. What we did at Cloudflare initially was just having a GoPath for each project. You set GoPath to the root of the project, you make a SRC folder, you put all your code down there, you put your dependencies also in there, and now it sort of works. Now, this is clunky because it requires setting an environment variable. So again, you can't do the just clone, cd, go build. But you can make a makefile, you can make some scripts, stuff. But the problem is that it doesn't work with GoGet. GoGet is one of the central tools that most developers expect to use. And you can't use GoGet on something that has its own GoPath, because that's just not how GoGetable projects are organized. GoGetable projects have code in their root or in a sub-package. They don't have a SRC folder, right? And then there was GoDApp. GoDApp, in the original version, helped solve the dependencies problem by adding this, rewriting all your import paths to import everything relative to your project /GoDApp/workspace, which was ugly as hell, but worked. Now, they deprecated that now, but it still didn't solve the problem of the location. It still didn't solve the fact that you can't git clone this repository wherever you want on your system and make something with it. Then there was GB. GB is the right idea. GB was going the right way. GB detected this problem a year before, 2 years? I don't know, Dave Cheney. He was just ahead of his time. No, anyway, GB by Dave Cheney is a different build tool. So you don't run Go, the Go tool, you run GB, and it just, goes find code differently, and it goes find code inside your project. So it completely forgets about GoPath. Now that was nice, but the problem is that, again, no go-get, because again, it's not a standard structured project. So if you don't structure your project normally, you don't use go-get. And if you can't use go-get, you can't import any of that code from external projects. Also, compatibility with other tools was fragile. Now, with GB, you could hack it by setting GoPath to a concatenation of two things. It worked. I mean, say you want to use GoMetaLinter or static check or any other tool. Like, there are a lot of small tools that are very nice and make working with Go pleasant. You want to use the Go Guru. So they don't know about GB, so you needed to hack it. And that was awkward, because that meant that GB couldn't really detach from tradition. And yeah, so, but the idea was there, that was the right path. And then there were makefiles, or make.go if you're working on Camden Store, Brad Fitzpatrick. Now, everyone knows makefiles, but the problem is that they're ad hoc. Like, everyone has to reinvent the wheel every single time. And then you discover that setting GoPath that way doesn't work. And then you discover that symlinks don't work with Go imports. And then you discover that you actually had to somehow memorize this differently. There's actual engineering around them, and you don't want your team to spend time on each project building the makefile. So this was the situation up to Go 1.4. Now, with Go 1.5 and successive versions, one of the two problems is solved. Where do I put my dependencies? Your dependencies go in the vendor folder. So you have a project, you make a folder called vendor, and inside there, in a folder called, like, the import path of your dependency, you put the code of your dependencies. That's it. So this is how it looks like. It still has the problem of the location of your project, but it made clear how you include dependencies into your project. Okay? So the global environment problem is solved. The community agreed that we are using the vendor folder. There is an open debate about how you fill it, how you download that code. If you want, honestly, you can literally just git clone it and copy it and remove the git folder manually, and it will work. So that's the structure, that's the base. Then there is a whole process around vendoring tools. Now, vendoring tools, there will be a blessed one integrated with the Go tool soon. I encourage you to read the Gopher Academy post that speaks about that. But honestly, I'm just partial. I wrote one of the 3 possibly major tools, which is GVT. So let's use GVT. So our problem was clearly that we don't have the dependencies, right? So if we need the dependencies, now I'm cheating because you don't want to just go copy-paste all of this during a live demo, but I just copy-pasted. But we just run GVT fetch with the name of each project, okay? What GVT does is that simple. It just goes, download that thing into the vendor folder, done. Writes a manifest.json. Doesn't do anything else for you. The point is that it's a simple, Unix tool, blah, blah, blah. Now, this will take a bit. There is something a little unsettling on the screen still, but we are confident that we're on the right way, on the right path. Like, we heard about vendoring. We heard that it's the right way to incorporate our dependencies into our project. This feels a lot like, oh, I figured out that I have to run pip install -r requirements.txt. So I figured out how to get my Python code to run. So I figured out how to get my Go code to run. So I'm doing it. Okay, it's downloading. It's still downloading. Never do this in a live demo. But there is still something unsettling. There is a warning. But I'm sure it's going to be fine. Pip spits out all kinds of warnings, and it still works, right? So, OK, so it's done. So now we have all the code, right? We have OKlog, the actual project. We have all the dependencies in the right place, in the vendor folder. We made it. It would have been easier if, the project owner had committed the vendor folder, because then we would have just cloned it and used the dependencies that they used. Because now it might be that one of these libraries got updated in the meantime, and it's not compatible anymore. So that's kind of scary. There was no version pinning here. So personally, the right way to do it is to actually commit the vendor folder. But I'm getting ahead of myself. This will clearly work. We have the code. We go there. We go in. We type go build. We know that we have to do /cmd/oklog. It will work. It will work. It still doesn't work. I went out. I learned about vendoring. I decided what tool to use. I figured out how to use it. I downloaded all the dependencies. I painstakingly copy-pasted every single line that was saying package not found. And it's still not working. Why? In this room, you know, right? Why is that? It's not in the GoPath. I don't even have set a GoPath. It's like, what is even GoPath? I'm just trying to make a patch for this program. I'm just trying to change a few lines, submit a pull request. I'm just trying to build the binary that my colleague told me to deploy before leaving on a Friday evening. Damn. So this is the exact problem I set out to try and solve for Cloudflare. We had some solutions again. We had the setting GoPath to the root, which is what our DNS was using. We had weird makefiles that did weird things, are syncing all your code in a fake GoPath inside the temp file system, and then destroying it once you're done. And I was like, and if I run make on 2 terminals at the same time, what happens? Oh God, don't do that! What? Ooh. And like, what if temp is like, doesn't, why are you touching stuff outside your repository with your makefile? You don't do that. Anyway, but that was still kind of working. Like it was setting up the GoPath for you. So there was a flow there. So we went there, we refined on that concept and iterated on that concept. Now, it's still a makefile. What I'm presenting today is called Hello Gopher. It's now on GitHub. I published it yesterday. But we've been developing it since, scroll, March 2016. It has seen all kinds of edge cases at Cloudflare, and it's actually much overdue for publishing. It's just a makefile. You go here, you take the wget command, you just wget the makefile. The next thing you have to do is edit the makefile. You take the occasion to go and to go and scroll it a bit. It's just 110 lines. It doesn't do anything much fancy, but you don't need to understand what it does, because there's a line here that says edit above. Nice. So you have to change the import path. It can't know the import path of your project. So our project is oklog/oklog, right? So that's our import path. And also it expects that the main program to be in the root, but here it's not. We know it's in cmd/oklog, right? So this is it. We save it. Okay, we changed the import path. We changed just what it was building. And we run make setup. That's a one-time thing. Only the first time you're installing Hello Gopher in a project, you're converting a project to Hello Gopher, you run make setup. Now you're getting uneasy. Are you touching my import paths? Are you touching my code? Nope. Git status, nothing. I added a couple lines to your git ignore, which is .gopath and bin, no, the bin folder. And there's a makefile now. And that's it. So now you commit those files, of course. You have them in there. Your colleague arrives, clones the repository, runs make, waits a lot because this CPU is low, and just clone, build, it built. And what's the other important thing? We didn't touch the code. This is still the same project. This still works with GoGet. This still works in the GoPath. This didn't disrupt any tool. This didn't disrupt any power user. This is just a makefile that did some unholy things that didn't touch anything outside your GoPath, that didn't involve rsync, that work on any platform because, oh my God, the cloud for everyone is using a different platform. There's a guy that uses OpenBSD on his laptop. And yeah, making makefiles work portably is hell. Anyway, but that's done for you. That's already done. The makefile is finished. It's 100 lines of makefile, 150 lines of README if you really want to figure stuff out, 5 lines of quick start. And now we just go in there, commit. We go in there, we override the decision of this project of not committing the vendor folder because that's wrong, but this is an opinion. We add vendor, the vendor folder. We had the new git ignore. We add the makefile. We commit. And now this project can be cloned by anyone, still can be used exactly as before, but as soon as you clone it, you can sit into it, make, and it builds. Now, you might be, of course, a bit curious about what that makefile does. You can just run any command with v = 1, and it actually tells you. So what it did over here is that it made a fake GoPath inside your project, not outside, not in the temp folder, not in anything shared. It didn't copy the code in there. It used a symlink. Scary word, symlink. Symlink and Go. If you've ever dealt with symlinks and Go, right now you're leaving the room. I understand. But the good thing is that this is not meant to be a universal wrapper. I vetted all the tools I use in the makefile and made sure they work with symlinks. That actually involved like a bunch of CLs to make them work, like Go imports. Turns out it doesn't. Now it does. So everything is just polished to work with symlinks. So there's a symlink over here in the GoPath folder inside your project that points back to your code. So there's no copying involved. You just change your code, and it's in the right place inside .gopath. But again, I'm telling you all this because you might be curious, but you don't need to know. You don't need to tell your colleagues. You don't need to like it, because it just works. So what can I do with makefile? Like, it's pretty limited if I can only build. I want to like make a whole patch. I want to, contribute. So of course there's make test. Make test will compile everything with the race detector enabled. And then once it compiled everything, it will run the test with the CGO checks enabled. Or it will run GoVet for you. And it will automatically detect all the packages in your project, but while ignoring the vendor folder. And it will do that even with symlinks. There's a lot of hacks. It works. And it will do incremental builds for you. So if you run make test again, it didn't build everything. Everything is stashed in the .gopath/pkg, and there is no need to build it again. This just happens. This just works. Then you want to know about coverage. You run make cover. It runs your tests with coverage enabled. It runs each test suite you have in your project with coverage for your whole project. So if your subpackage A exercises some lines from your subpackage B, but subpackage B also has some tests, it will run them both, and then run GoCov merge, which installed without you noticing. And it will make a joined coverage profile, which takes a lot to generate, but that's just coverage. It's insane how coverage works in Go. It's so cool. And then drop you into a browser where you can just navigate to your coverage profile. And then you want to cross-compile. We ended up, we saw all the needs. You just type goz equal Linux and run make. And guess what? It will still do incremental builds for you. So if the second time you run goz Linux make, it didn't overwrite the artifacts from before. It just works. And you go into your bin folder. There's another folder, Linux AMD64. Your Linux binary is in there. OK, I'm running out of time here. So I'm not going to show you that the project still works even if you move it inside the GoPath and start using normal tools, go build, go install. But I don't have to prove it to you because I didn't touch the code, right? So if I didn't touch the code, go get, go build, go install, everything in the GoPath still works. So if you want to use static check, go metalinter, you just drop it in the right place in the GoPath and use that. The point is that you shouldn't use this as a universal wrapper because, again, not all tools work with symlinks. This is just enough to make your contributor, your colleague, your new Go developer get started, make a patch, make the first iterations, learn about GoPath later, and then get into GoPath. So, yeah, I also don't have time to show you the flow of making a patch, but there's also make format, for example. How many times have we gotten patches that weren't GoFMT'd? And we had to explain them. How do you set up your editor? No, instead you tell them, run make format before making the patch. Done. All right. So this was Hello Gopher. Now, of course, I'm not thinking that this is the universal solution. This works at Cloudflare. I really think you can use this. And I wouldn't be publishing otherwise. But you know, for the long term, there are a lot of things that are getting better at the Go level. There is the default Go path landed by that man over there into the Go 1.8 that will help with GoGet. But that still doesn't solve the just git clone, cd, try to build flow, because even if you have a default Go path, now you have to use GoGet, and then you're like, why is my code not in there? I want my code there. I have opinions, damn it. And now that's not solved. But thankfully, Russ Cox in his 2017 resolutions writes, work outside GoPath should be supported nearly as well as work inside GoPath. In particular, it should be possible to git clone a repo, cd into it, and run Go commands and have them work fine. Does that sound familiar? I swear I have Git history that proves that that was the motto of Hello Gopher before he published this post. But that's exactly the same goal. And finally, about Hello Gopher itself, I'm not convinced it should be a makefile forever. Makefiles are good because you can commit them. And anyone has make installed, so they just git clone and run make. But maybe there's space also for a Hello Gopher, Hello G tool that will just look at maybe a file called import path in the root of your project and just use that to know the import path and just go and build whatever thing by making this GoPath trick, but hiding it away without even doing the makefile. I don't know. So that's where the next step, the real next step is. This is about usability. So this is about users. I need you to take this, either use it yourself or shadow someone in your company that is trying to get started, and email me everything that goes wrong. Like, you can't figure out the docs, it's a bug. You can't get it to download in the right place, it's a bug. You can't figure out how to build a specific thing, it's a bug. My email is over there. The URL is over there. Help me. Thank you.
Thank you.